What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Eclectic Beard Gaming Reactions. Now, this go around, no, it's not the rules yet. However, I keep seeing you got to take a look at this over here happening. Union. This you ought to take a look at rugby league. So take a look at the difference between rugby union and rugby league. I'm still trying to take and learn about this sport. Um, yeah, this is a sport played over there where I'm pretty sure our American football players over here are seen as a bunch of wusses because pads are for women and all that good stuff during their cycles, their periods. So uh, yeah, that's kind of how just yeah. Anyways, before we go any further, like, subscribe, notification bell. I don't know why I talk sometimes when I shouldn't. Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we?
Nihn explains the differences between rugby union and rugby league and a whole lot more. But first, a history lesson. Back in 1823, at a local football match in the town of Rugby, an English schoolboy named William Webb Ellis supposedly picked up the ball and ran with it.
Okay, so actually a town called Rugby. So that's oh wow.
In the town of Rugby, an English schoolboy named William Webb Ellis supposedly picked up the ball and ran with it. Pretty soon this became a popular game, and in 1871 led to the creation of the governing body known as the RFU, the Rugby Football Union, of which still exists today. That's nice and all, but why are there two different kinds? Back then, there were two different kinds of players. Firstly, there were the amateurs. These were public schoolboys or people rich enough to play the game for free and who didn't need to be paid. Secondly, there were the professionals. These are the people who were so poor that they...
Okay, so this explains the reason why there's there's infighting in my comments amongst yourselves about northern and southern and rich and poor, and I've seen that and I was like, wait, what? So okay, well that makes sense now.
There were the professionals. These are the people who were so poor that they needed to be paid to play a child's game because they couldn't afford time off work. Nowadays, being a professional sportsman is quite a good job, but back then it was seen as worse than prostitution. Professionals were usually from the north of England, usually from Lancashire and Yorkshire. Pretty soon though, they realised that being paid money to play a game wasn't such a bad idea and started forming fully professional teams. The RFU, not happy that these northern professionals were beating the southern amateurs at their own game and being paid quite well for it, decided to ban professionals, ban professional sports teams, and anyone playing professionals or professional sports teams. The professionals, not liking this, set up their own league in 1895 and called themselves the Northern Rugby Football Union, later to be named Rugby League.
The explanation of that, oh my god. So it started because the difference started because the some were getting paid to play professionally and others weren't. Like, that's kind of wow. I mean, I can see where it's like, hey, that's not supposed to happen. It's just a game. But yeah, just the fact that that caused, that's crazy.
Whilst the RFU named their sport Rugby Union. These two sports have been separate ever since 1895, and to this day you'll find most of the professional rugby league teams in the north of England and most of the professional rugby union teams located in the south. Okay, so what is the difference? In general, both kinds of rugby have the same idea. You have to run with the ball and touch it down onto your opponent's in-goal area to score. You can pass the ball sideways or backwards, but not forwards. The opponents have to stop you by grabbing the ball carrier and pulling him to the floor. The main difference between the two sports is what happens after the tackle. In rugby union, the tackle is contested. This means that as soon as a tackle has been made, the ball carrier must let go of the ball. This also means, in theory, that either player on either team can pick it up and run with it. This is known as the ruck, and it looks like a giant mess of bodies pushing each other and lying around on the floor a bit, and it is, sort of. In rugby league, however, the tackle is uncontested. After the ball carrier is tackled, the opponent must let go of him, and his team must retreat 10 metres. They must allow the ball carrier to kick the ball back to a teammate, and then they try and run forwards with the ball again. The team with the ball is allowed up to 6 tackles to score before the referee gives the ball to the other team so that they can...
So 6 tackles to score, or did us kick the other side? So that's interesting. As soon as the ball carrier is tackled, they have to let go of the ball. This one, they have to back up 10 feet and allow another. That's it's such a small thing, but I'm sure there's a lot of strategy that goes around once they have to back up or once the carrier's tackle, depending on which one they play. Like it's such a small. It seems like such a small thing, but I know there's got to be strategy in this game. There's strategy in just about there's strategy in every sport. So just that small of a difference can probably make to all kinds of strategical things, strategical differences in how each game, how each is played uh, at the after the point of tackle.
Have their 6 tackles. This might seem like a minor rule change, but this has resulted in 2 almost completely different sports. Other differences include 15 men play in a rugby union team as opposed to 13 men in a rugby league team, 5 points for a try in union, 4 points for a try in league, 3 points for a penalty kick in union, 2 points in league, 3 points for a drop goal in union, but only 1 point in league. There are many other rules that differ between the 2 codes of rugby, but those are the main ones you need to know about. American football fans who watch rugby league for the first time generally understand it very quickly, as these 2 sports are very similar. The same cannot be said about rugby union, which will forever confuse our American friends for years to come. So why did rugby league change the rules? If you remember the professionals of 1895, they needed to be paid. To make more money from spectators, they had to change the rules of the game to make it more exciting for spectators to watch. This includes reducing the scoring, reducing the number of men, and including an even amount of possession by limiting the tackles per team. This is why some people say that rugby league is more exciting to watch. Union fans would argue that they dumbed down the rules because their tiny little northern monkey brains couldn't understand rugby.
Oh my god. There's parts of this that sound exactly like exactly the way my comment section reads on the rugby videos.
Union, but this is certainly not the case. Union fans refer to rugby league players as idiots, whereas league fans think of union players as fat public school boys who can't take a hit. So what's more popular? Rugby union is the more popular sport as it's been around for longer. It's also the de facto code of rugby that you'll probably learn in school. Only a handful of countries play rugby league, and in fact, the only country where rugby league is more popular than rugby union is Australia. But in reality, when most people say rugby, they're usually referring to rugby union. So which is better? To answer that question, let's use an analogy of chess and checkers. Checkers, like rugby league, is a very simple game to understand. Every piece is the same, and they all have an equal role. It's a fast game, and you really don't need to be a genius to understand what's going on. Chess, like rugby union, is an infinitely more complicated game to understand. Some pieces are different than others and perform different roles. It's a much slower game, and it's all about strategy and tactics. You have to be more tactically aware to play rugby union, but you have to be fitter to play rugby league, as your job mainly consists of running with the ball and being smashed in the face for 80 minutes. So the question is, which do you prefer? Chess or checkers? Rugby league or rugby union? The only way you'll truly know is to watch or play both kinds of games and deciding for yourself.
That was that's interesting. It's interesting not only the way the separation happened, the reason why rules changed, like one that made things simpler, so easier to follow. The other, keeping with tradition, but also it's interesting. I say tradition, keeping with the original rules. It's interesting to take and see just also how big of a gap in how folks think about each other over this. Holy crap! And I thought college football fans were very passionate about their team or their sport. Whoa, that's it's hard to find me a union game to watch because one I watched was a league. So yeah, that's very very interesting. All right. Well, that being said, uh, I will take a look at their rules, video on the rules, in the future. But yeah, y'all be good to each other. Love yourselves. Peace.